What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Buckeye Film Breakdown. As always, I'm Jeremy. Opposite side of the screen, we got Coach Slate. Wanted to hop on here and kind of do a recap. Ryan Day met with the media today following practice number 9. If you are watching on YouTube or any other avenue that is not via Buckeye Film Breakdown, enjoy the free preview. If you're on Buckeye Film Breakdown, as always, much love and respect, and enjoy the full episode. Coach Day meets with the media today following practice number 9. Crazy to think that we're more than halfway done with spring ball. We are 12 days away from the spring game. Be interesting to see what happens the rest of the way, but we just wanted to hop on here. I think there was a lot of good things that Coach Day talked about, a lot of good insight. We want to start with the offense. Obviously the most important position on the offense is the quarterback. So I thought it was really great to hear Coach Day talking about Julian Sayin. And I think the exact quote was, he's commanding the whole operation, understanding that he's the guy in charge. I think that is a huge indicator, kind of backs up what you said you saw of Julian Sayin. We know the talent's there.
Yeah, the talent's definitely there, man. And to see it live and in person, I fully agree with what Coach Day is seeing and saying. And obviously, they see it behind the scenes as well. They see it in the weight room, they see it in the meeting rooms, they see it in all aspects of being a leader of the team. But from what we saw on the field, it was plain as day that he is taking full command of that offense. And for your head coach to come out and say that he's seeing it as well, that's a huge boost to your confidence level. Because I will tell you this, Coach Day coaches the absolute dog crap out of Julian Sayin when he's at practice. I mean, he coaches him hard. And so for him to come out and say that he's taken full control of the offense and taken full command, like, that's a huge compliment to Julian and what he's done and the maturity that we're seeing from him. Now, as Coach Hinton used to say, like, don't mistake that for being worth a you-know-what.
Right.
Like, you still have more to do, but that's what you want to hear from your head coach as you go into the spring and you're trying to develop into a leader. So shout out to Julian for taking on that mantle, and just, you got to keep developing. You got to keep going out and executing and doing what you got to do to help lead this team to a natty.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought the other thing is, he did use the word operating with authority. Again, you are the dude. We've talked about Julian being that kind of California cool demeanor. So to see him take ownership of the offense has to also be a positive, I would think.
Especially with the new offensive coordinator. When you're working on developing that entire new identity under an NFL offensive coordinator who Coach Day is definitely giving the reins to run this offense the way that he wants to, you definitely want to feel that, like, hey, like, this isn't Coach Day's offense anymore. This is a new guy. How's he adjusting to being coached differently from somebody new? And so, like, this is to handle it with that authority. Again, man, that's just, it's a kudos to Julian and what he's doing. And he's definitely taken the leadership role in that quarterback room as well, with Tavian, with Luke Fahey, with Justin Martin. Like, Luke Fahey is a pretty freaking good quarterback, by the way. I didn't say that last week, but he's got a lot of talent. Very short. He's very short, but he has got a lot of talent. And you could tell he's really leaning on Julian. So there's just a lot of good things going on there, man.
Yeah, and then obviously, in the not ideal, but I think you worded it best when we were kind of hashing through things before we came on here. It's kind of a short-term loss for a long-term gain. The offensive line sounds like there's some dinged upness. Austin Saraveld, Philip Daniels, both done for the spring, but a couple of guys who I know you enjoyed what you saw out of them and are important for the long term. Carter Lowe, Jake Cook getting meaningful reps now because of that.
Yeah, man, I'm a huge Jake Cook fan. I will root for for that kid after seeing, what he had to go through to earn that Ohio State offer. The puking at camp. Yeah, everybody's heard that story. He worked himself till he got sick. And so it just the way that he practices and the effort that he gives, like it's every single snap. And after practice, when I was catching up with Luke Montgomery, he was just filling me in. Like Luke is always filling me in on the guys that we need to be paying attention to. And Jake Cook was one of the first people that he brought up. Like, hey man, like this offensive line group's going to be good for a long time. You really need to pay attention to Jake Cook. Like he is really busting his ass. Like he's working really hard. And I love hearing that about young guys, especially Ohio kids, man. You always want to see that. And then Carter Lowe, when you coach against these guys at the high school level, like when you play them, you want to show them up a little bit,
Right.
like you want to like, hey, like I got this little measly, 5'8" defensive end. Like I'm going to take it to him with this little guy. But then when they get to that next level, you want to see them ball out and have the utmost success. And that's the way I feel about Carter Lowe. Like Carter Lowe, very soft-spoken kid. Like you wouldn't expect him to be like this absolute freak of nature athlete, but he really is. And to hear that he's having that success, this is a kid that is a true tackle that has the ability to kick down inside if we need him to. Like we cannot write this kid off. Like his best football is ahead of him. And this is a kid who didn't start playing football until he got to high school. And so like this is somebody who is a really, really good football player. And so that development, if he's got to start developing now with Sarah Veld and Phillip Daniels out, that is only going to help our depth moving forward. And that is what we need. We need quality depth. And I hope he realizes that and he takes advantage of that, because it can never hurt to have too many true tackles on the roster.
No, and then obviously another guy who is gaining from this is Ian Moore, a guy who, obviously we saw him get some burn in the Miami game and looked pretty good in that second half. But again, you're not going to do any harm to yourself by going against Zion Grady, Kenyatta Jackson, Bo Atkinson. Reps, like you said. Build the depth. And I can't decide if I know it's coach speak and it's not a bad thing, but it's just so weird to hear Ryan Day more than almost any other coach in America talk about how they're always looking for their 5 linemen. I just feel like you got to have an idea, but at the same time, you want to motivate everybody. I know that too. It's just really weird. I mean, obviously, we don't listen to every coach's presser in the country, but I feel like it's always a topic of discussion.
Yeah, it is. And I there's a part of me though that believes him, because you look at the success that we've had with our offensive line. Other than the last 2 games of this past season, we won a national championship with a rotating offensive line, a right and left guard. You know what I mean? Like, and so he's always trying to find that, best 5. And I there's a part of me that believes him. I think they truly believe that they've got 8 or 9 guys that are starting quality guys. And talking with people down there, they believe, like, there's multiple people around the program that believe that. I mean, they really do. They feel Jake Cook and Carter Lowe and Ian Moore, like these are starting level guys. And so finding the right configuration of that, I believe him when he says, like, we've got to find the right 5 to put out there. Josh Padilla, it's going to be hard to keep him off the field. Like he's a guy that's going to potentially start at right guard. Like those are some things that they've got to work through. So there's legit 8 or 9 guys that could be out there, man.
Something we've talked about a lot, especially since we transitioned to the film breakdown side of life, to where we have watched a lot more film, is yards after catch, contact, take your pick, depending on which skill group you're talking about. Obviously, with the running backs, Coach Day threw it out there. We got to get the second level. We got to make some people miss. We have been pounding that drum since December. Yards after catch was one thing I didn't realize until I started looking at the numbers, how bad it was last year. And I think that's where you saw the emphasis on different wide receiver types. The Kyle Parker, Devin McEwen, I think Devin McEwen is going to be a yak machine.
Yeah.
And I think Jacoby Jackson is going to be your yards after contact machine on the running back room, which I think is what we envisioned CJ Donaldson being. And there were times that we got bowling ball CJ Donaldson. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
But you got to remember CJ Donaldson was a tight end at one point. Jacoby Jackson is a running back. So I thought it was interesting to hear him. We always talk about how Coach Day is very strategic with his words. What do you take away from him kind of highlighting a weakness of a group that Ohio State's always been known for lately in the wide receiver room, especially?
Yeah, it puts pressure on you. It lets you know, like, hey, man, just because we've pumped out all these first rounders and we've had all this talent, it means absolutely nothing. If we don't go out there and we create explosives on a consistent basis, if we're not able to catch a screen and be able to take it for 50, we are failing. We're not doing what we need to do. It's great to be able to go get 4 yards on first down. That's every head coach's, every offensive coordinator's goal. Like, if we can go get 4 yards on first down, that's awesome. But can we create explosives to jump up on these teams early in the game so that we can wear them down later in the game with our offensive line? Like, are we able to do that on a consistent basis? Can we put teams away so that in the fourth quarter, we don't have to worry about them anymore? It's not a game. And that is what we're trying to create. And I love it. It puts challenge on arguably your most talent laden, depth laden group that you have. It puts even more pressure on them. You're talking about having some of the best leaders on the team in that receiver group. You have the best player in the country in that receiver group, and it's saying, hey, I don't care. Can you create explosives?
Right.
Like, that is something that I love seeing. And so that's just something that's Ohio State. It's that Nick Saban era. It's that I don't really care what you've done for me in the past. What have you done for me now? What can you do for me when you get the ball in your hands? That's what we need to see. And that's why guys like Brock Boyd have really started to emerge, because he makes big plays when he touches the ball. That's bottom line. Whenever he touches the ball this spring, it's a big play. So that's what we want to see out of these receivers, out of these running backs on a consistent basis. And I love it, man. Put pressure on your best players, and that's only going to make them better.
Yeah, and of course, you bring up Brock Boyd. Brock Boyd got his flowers again.
Yeah.
I believe the adjectives today were mature and consistent. Talked about how he plays fast every snap, and he's also beginning to become reliable. And that wasn't the only player who the word reliable got brought up with. We'll talk about another one on the defensive side of the ball. But again, not to beat a dead horse, we have pounded the pavement for Brock Boyd since day one. And I don't think people still realize, unless you watch film and, obviously the practice clips, like, you can see him cooking DBs. But this kid's good, man. He is really good.
He's really good. And as a football coach, when you have a son who is athletic, when you have a child that's athletic and they come to you and they say, hey, I think I want to play football. That is like, okay, you want to play football? If we're going to do this, we're going to really do this, right? And now, obviously, like, I know most coaches don't want to force their kids to do any sport by any means. Like, you just want them to go out there and have fun. You don't want them to feel like they have to play football, all that stuff. But when your child says that they want to go out and do these things, you want to help develop them the best way possible. He is a coach's son.
Yep.
Right. So when you are a coach's son and you have the opportunity to be exposed to some of the high level football that they are exposed to in the state of Texas at a school like South Lake Carroll, like, your entire life, you're going to grow up around top notch football, and it's only going to become something that you are just ingrained in.
Right.
And it's going to become a part of you. And so now you're talking about having that high level football coach that you're at home with all the time, And if you're fully immersed in it, you can be watching film with them. You can be doing all these different things. You have a full understanding of what the game of football is before you graduate high school. And if you're able to carry that over into college, it puts you ahead of the game. Like that is something that is kind of missed in all of this, is that he's a coach's son. And I think that is something that has really paid dividends for him, on top of being a very good football player, being a very good athlete. He has hands, great route runner. Like these are just things that he has really put himself ahead of the game. Like Coach Day said, he's very mature. These are things that have just really helped him out. And so I just love the kid, man. I just think he just does it the right way. He's got a little swagger about him, and it's just really fun to see. Doesn't mean he's going to go out and have 1,000 yards receiving this year, or it's going to be the next Carnell Tate.
Right.
But he's got to keep grinding away, man. He's going to earn a spot.
Yeah, and then to kind of finish up positionally on the offense, probably the room he gave the most props to, the tight ends. He talked about the increased production where they're actually becoming targets, which I feel like we hear that every year as well. And then, but he did use the term, moving from role players to contributors, gave special props to both the transfer tight ends, Mason Williams and Hunter Welsing. Is it more coach speak, or do you think with the Arthur Smith influence, the tight end does get used more?
I think the tight end will get used a little bit more, but I will tell you this from being down at practice, Hunter Welsing's pretty good. He was making some plays as a receiver that I enjoyed seeing. He is a very good receiving tight end. I don't know how good his quarterback was at Northwestern.
Right.
And so he's a veteran too. He's a 7th-year senior, I believe. I think he's a 6th or 7th-year senior. Like you're talking about a guy who has been waiting his opportunity. Last year, he had 20+ receptions at a school that didn't have like the best quarterback situation. Like he's a very talented tight end. He made some catches in the red zone, some back shoulder fades, going up and get it. Like it was very, very talented. Mason Williams is a guy who really shocked me. And one of the things that shocked me was it was a 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2 situation in practice, like a gotta have it period. And they ran a toss play to him like that. They ran a toss play to him, and he ran through a few people's face to go get the first down. Like that, okay. That is a level of trust that I was not expecting to see in him already. And so when I saw that, I jotted that down in my notes. Like, okay, I didn't want to really say anything because I was like, this is maybe not something that should be out there. But since Coach Day came out and said, like, Mason Williams is a guy, I was like, okay, it's pretty, I can go ahead and say this. But that is something that is a level of trust that you can see that they have in him. There's no doubt about it. And Coach Key thinks that Mason Williams could potentially be a better blocker than Will Kazmarek.
And that's saying something.
That is saying a whole lot, because Will Kazmarek was a freaking dude when it came to blocking. And so I don't want to sleep on these guys because they weren't, heralded transfer portal pickups, but they're very talented. And I just think this room, you add Nate Roberts into that. Max LeBlanc is getting some good reps as well down at practice. Like, it's a very talented group, man.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing, to kind of round out the offense, we've all seen the Jeremiah Smith practice touchdown on Gotta Have It. For Coach Day to come out today and make it known that they overturned it and made the offense run gassers, it shows you he knows the microscope that Ohio State football is under, that people are watching that play. I mean, you can see him step out the back of the end zone. But is that a program building statement, or is it culture, or all of the above?
I think it's all of the above. I think it's, in the moment, it's hard to kind of tell. They have referees at the game, right, or at the practices, and it's hard to tell in that moment. You got a bunch of students around and all that stuff, right? But when you're able to sit back, you can even see it on social media. You can see it when you're watching the film. It shows that you're willing to do things the right way. It shows that you're willing to be able to go back and correct those mistakes. And then you punish the defense as well. And so you punish the defense for giving up the touchdown, which, by the way, Jermaine Matthews probably should have got an interception. Did a great job sinking underneath, coming off the slant route, sinking underneath. I thought he was going to get a pick. But nonetheless, like, good job for Coach Day getting this right, because he clearly did step out of bounds.
Yeah.
But I think it's more of like, hey, you know, we celebrated in the moment, but this was actually the call. We're going to go back and do this the right way. Hey, next time, JJ, don't step out of bounds, and we won't have this problem. You know, understand where you are in the field. Like that, I just think it's more of a cultural thing, and just trying to do right by the guys. And it will be more fun to chat about and the banter and all that stuff in the locker room. But I think Coach Dave was just making sure they got it right.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I think it was great. So we will pause right there for everybody who is on YouTube, Apple, Spotify. We hope you enjoyed the free preview. For everybody else, we will